Paula Conley. I'm here today to facilitate the webinar, Things I Know Now, Stories from Early Access. It's my pleasure to welcome Jack's family, his mom, Melissa Kilmer, and his dad, Jack Gowdy. We're also here today with one of their early access team members, Michelle Pandian. We're going to discuss things that they've learned from their almost first year of participating in early access. And in addition, at the end of the webinar, we are going to share some resources that we have. Jax has been diagnosed as deaf, and he also has some additional special health care needs and disabilities, often referred to Deaf Plus. Melissa will talk a little more about Jack's needs. Melissa is a native Iowan. She was born in Des Moines, and she got her GED from DMAC. Jack's dad, Nick Gowdy, is from Omaha. He was born there and attended school in the Carlisle area. Michelle Pandian is a second-generation teacher of the deaf and hard of hearing, currently working for Heartland AEA as an teacher. Michelle has been both a classroom teacher and an interim teacher over the last 13 years. She received her Master's of Science in Secondary Education from the National Institute for the Deaf at RIT in Rochester in 2006. Michelle has taught in several places, including Iowa. She served on the Wisconsin State Superintendent's Advisory Council for deaf and hard of hearing students, as well as on the board of Wisconsin Families for Hands and Voices. Her articles on student advocacy, socialization, and transition have appeared in Wisconsin Families for Hands and Voices Communicator, as well as the Hands and Voices National Communicator newspaper. Michelle has also presented at several conferences. She currently works with students who are school age with hearing loss and the early access families. Welcome, everyone. Michelle, I'm going to start with you. Could you share a little bit about Jaxson and some of the challenges that he has?
Well, he was born with end-stage kidney failure. He's also deaf, and he has a G-tube for feeding. He doesn't really take any oral foods by mouth. He's got quite a few challenges.
Thank you. So how did you first hear about the early access program?
We heard about it from our NICU team at University of Iowa, and also his dialysis doctors.
Oh, okay. So did you immediately get in touch with them, or did you wait till Jax was out of the hospital?
We waited till after he was out of the hospital.
Okay, thank you. So Michelle, tell us from your perspective, what types of things do you do as you prepare to meet with families from early access?
So for me, once we get a referral, I'll slide over. So once we get a referral, we usually go and look at all the paperwork that comes with the referral. We look at what the diagnoses are, what the parents' concerns are. I will try to meet up with other team members like the audiologist. Fortunately, in Iowa, they have access to state records for universal newborn hearing screening through EDI. And so we look at the child's hearing loss. We look at what parents are concerned about. I'll try to meet with other team members. If there's an OT or a PT or other needs for the child, then I'll try to get together with them before we come out so that we kind of have our ducks in a row. We kind of know what the parents' concerns are, and we try to prepare so that we can answer some of the parents' questions at the initial meeting.
Michelle, we often hear from families that they don't even know what questions or how to begin. So given some of the challenges that Jax had, how did you begin to sort through that to even know and have an idea where you wanted to go. And Nick, you shared too what that initial experience was like.
You know, our initial experience with everything, it was really shocking, but when we got involved with early access and Heartland AEA, it actually made stuff a lot easier for us because we learned more about what was going on with Jaxson and you know, more of the, we got more information out of Heartland AEA about how to go about taking care of him and what we wanted to do when we took care of him and how.
So Michelle, can you share a little bit about what that initial conversation was with Jaxson's family? How did you support them to begin to sort through what priorities they had and wanted to address?
Well, I know when we went out for the initial evaluation, we start to look at what some of the needs are in different domains. We look at his fine motor, we look at his gross motor, we look at his communication, and through that we're able to share with parents where their child is performing, and we can recommend, you know, services and maybe goal areas to work on. We find out from parents what their desire is for the future communication, the future fine motor skills, the future gross motor skills, where they would like their child to be within, say, the next 3 to 6 months. And that's kind of where we target our goals. I also bring out some materials that are from the Sky High curriculum, and they kind of have a list of areas and topics that families might be interested in learning more about. I ask them if they understand their child's audiogram, if they understand what he can and can't hear. I talk to them about communication preferences, how they want to communicate with their child, what eventually they'd like to see him doing. And that's where we kind of target our goals. And of course, my goals as a teacher of the deaf and hard of hearing are focused in the communication area. So we look at what preferences they have for hearing equipment, whether that be hearing aids or cochlear implants or other devices if they so choose, and what communication mode they would like to work on with their child, whether that be signing or auditory oral or both. And so we really plan our goals and our strategy sessions working on what parents' desires are from that perspective.
Okay. I certainly want to take a minute and recognize that Jax was with us on the camera for a moment. He's as cute as can be, and I can testify that he's making great progress. We watched him this morning sort colors and put puzzles together, and it's just really exciting to see all the progress he's made this year. Michelle, Melissa, tell us a little bit about your visits with Michelle. What does a typical visit look like? What are some of the things you talk about and share? And particularly tell people who have not had the experience what the coaching model looks like and how you use that at home.
Okay, so a normal Wednesday is when we have all of our, well, we just call them Jaxson's teachers. And so they normally, he's got his PT, his OT, and Michelle, and then we also have his play teacher as well. So they all like come in like 30-minute intervals most of the time. Sometimes they come all at once. But normally we will have Michelle, she is teaching us sign language to learn with Jaxson. She also interacts with Jaxson. Everybody interacts with Jaxson while they're there, and it's kind of stressful at times. But I mean, we know that it's the best thing for Jaxson to gain more learning experiences. And you want to add anything?
No.
I know one of the tips Michelle had shared with me before we started the video, that one of the tips she used is she also is a mom that works outside her home, And so she tries to organize everything on Wednesday when she has a day off. And it's my understanding that Nick also tries not to work on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
So they're all there and can participate in the early access coaching process. Michelle, from your perspective, share some of the experiences you've had with Nick and Melissa and how you have seen their confidence grow in terms of parenting a child with special needs and specifically Jax.
Well, I know when we first started, they were just not exactly sure what to expect as far as communication, not exactly sure what to expect as far as his listening skills and all that. We brought in lots of information related to understanding his audiogram, understanding what he can hear, so that now when other people ask about it, they are able to educate family members. They're able to educate people in Jackson's daycare setting. They're able to educate other people who come in and ask. They're able to share tips about how to communicate with Jaxson. For example, at this point he's deaf and he's doing his hearing aid trial still. So he doesn't have his cochlear implants yet, and he doesn't really get a lot of benefits out of his hearing aids. So he's mostly visual. And so they're able to share with other people that he needs to be seeing them face to face, that if you're going to be signing with him, you should do it in his field of vision. If you're talking behind him or doing things behind him, doesn't have access to that. So they're able to coach other people as far as that goes. We worked on his behavior of pulling his hearing aids out, because that's just a normal 18 to 24-month-old behavior. And we were able to provide some coaching on that, and they've done a great job helping Jaxson get acclimatized to wearing his hearing aids and his headband all day in preparation for his cochlear implants. I feel like they've become a lot more confident using signs around their home, a lot more confident about their communication choices and their choice for amplification in the future. We're still navigating the whole doctor's visits and getting all that coordinated. Jaxson has a lot of appointments that he has to be at, and of utmost concern is taking care of his health to make sure that he's healthy and happy. So, we were able to help prioritize some of those, and I feel like they have gained a lot of skills in that area as far as being able to take care of Jackson's needs and provide for his communication skills.
Thank you.
Do you want to add?
No, I totally agree with everything that Michelle said. It's his health, obviously just come first over anything, but having a deaf child, you also want him to hear every day.
Exactly.
And so, yeah.
Thinking back, when you first heard about early access in the hospital, what do you think it was the scariest thing that you worried about?
It was probably letting strangers into our home was probably the first scariest thing, because any normal person doesn't just let people come into their home. But I'll tell you what, after we let them come into our home and we got used to, and we grew with all of his teachers, we've actually formed a relationship with all of them. So and it's a great relationship between all of us. It's all for Jaxson and for his medical needs is the reason why we let them in, and it's never been a better thing than letting them into our house and into our lives.
That's really great to hear. A lot of professionals tend to watch our videos. So as a family, to a new person who maybe is studying to become an audiologist at school, what would be one tip you could think of to share with them about that whole first experience of getting to know each other?
First, don't judge a book by its cover, first of all. And then just try to, give or take in everything that the family is saying and, you know, respect what they want done for their child. Is what, yeah, it'd be good advice for them.
Michelle, we know that early access has become very invested in using the coaching model. Can you share a little bit about that? And as you go in a home with a lesson, what is the takeaway that you see as the goal for instance, today's lesson?
So if I was going to Nick and Melissa's home today to work with Jaxson, I would bring some sign language materials that they are learning. We're working one-on-one with developing some sign language skills. I look at what's available in his home environment, things he might experience on a day-to-day basis. We work with language that they can integrate into his routines. It's not like it's a sign language class. It's not like, you know, they have to sit down and, you know, work with Jaxson in a sort of teaching way, like he's going to school or anything. Really, it's how to integrate some natural signing and language experiences with what they do with him every day. So we will look at playtime. We will look at language around bedtime, language around bath time, language around reading simple books with him. Different play skills like in and out, and different signs for different things in his home, different toys. And then I'll usually model a game or an activity or bring things that they can do with him. Sometimes I leave things in the home, either toys or activities that they can do. Sometimes we use things that they already have in their house. And I will play with Jaxson using some of those materials and signs, and then we sit down and do it together. And I would work on coaching them to say, okay, so, oh, look what he just did. How can you build some sign language into there? I remember one time specifically, Jaxson was learning how to stand up, pull himself up. And he had gone over to like the book rack where you guys kept some books on your table. And it was a perfect opportunity for Nick, for Dad, to get behind the table and right in Jackson's field of vision and sign with him about, oh, you want the book, you know, and he was able to work with him and have him open the book and point to pages and talk about what was in the book. And that was a really good coaching setup because we had just worked on some of the language, and then Jaxson naturally went over to the table and started interacting with his toys and books. And we were able to kind of coach around, let's, you know, how can you add 2 or 3 extra signs into what you're already doing with him? And I don't know, have you guys found that to be helpful?
Very
yeah,
helpful.
I mean, him being a 2-year-old, I mean, he's constantly, you know, on the go. So yeah, it is, you do have to have your set times, you know, to do signing with him. And that's mainly when, like, we'll put him in his little high chair on the floor and we'll like he's trying to experiment with textures right now. So we'll put different kinds of foods and we'll give him, you know, the option to, you know, either play with a toy or, you know, have a piece of food. And we use the signs at that time. That's the best time, and it maybe lasts for 10 minutes if we're lucky.
Yes, exactly. He has a very short attention span.
Yeah, very, very short. And
then even times when you're changing his diaper, times when you're feeding him.
Yeah, when he's feeding, ask him if he wants a drink or if he, sleepy.
Yes.
Or main one is no.
Now he's 2. Yeah,
that's probably one of his favorites.
Yeah.
One of the questions I also have, and this is for Michelle, or I'm sorry, Melissa or Nick, or both of you. What was the one thing that you could identify as being really helpful? We discussed that in addition to being deaf, that Jax had a lot of other concerns, healthcare concerns, chronic conditions that you had to pay attention to. Was there something that stands out to you that you could share as a great initial resource, or a person, or anything that you thought was really helpful?
Really, all of Ask Resource Centers has been a help for us and our family, and with the development of Jaxson and everything that he's had wrong with him, or has had go wrong with him, they have been there through every step of the way to help us through it, to help us manage doctor's appointments, help us teach us how to deal with a kid with multiple different disabilities, and just everything that they've done in every aspect of Jaxson's life and our life and our family has been a great help through Ask Resource and Heartland AEA. I couldn't ask for a better team of teachers to be in my family and to help me with my family and my kid.
Well, I just want to take a moment and thank all of you for participating. I'm going to take a moment and talk a little bit about some of the resources that you can find at Ask's webpage. And in addition, you can always call our office. That number is 515-243-1713, and ask for myself, Paula Conley, or Lori Moore. Lori is a project lead for the EDDI program, which is the early detection program for children who are deaf and hard of hearing. And we have a contract to provide family resources. Some of the resources we have available are 3 kinds of family support. We have something that is identified as a deaf mentor. A deaf mentor is an individual who is deaf themselves, and they are invited into the home by a family. And with the family, they share their lived experience as a person who is deaf, and also share experiences about the deaf culture. I know, Melissa, you participated in the Deaf Mentor program. Is there anything you want to share about?
Yeah, Sandra is, oh my gosh, she's amazing. We have so many, she came out of the house twice, and I feel horrible because we have so many other stuff, other appointments and things going on with Jaxson, that sometimes we just can't have her out as much as I would like to have her out. And but she's amazing. She will sit there, and if I don't understand what she's trying to sign to me, we just use our phones and text. But she'll play with Jaxson, and yeah, she's really amazing. It's awesome to have a deaf mentor that's deaf herself, and she had obviously put on her phone, but it told me, about her life and how she, she was born deaf, and she's amazing.
Thanks. Ask also is certified to grow a volunteer network across the state of parents who have lived experiences and can be matched with another parent to have and provide just that emotional support, been there, done that kind of lived experience. We call those parent mentors. And in the EDDI program, you can also have a deaf mentor as well as a parent mentor. And Melissa, I believe you've met a couple of times with a parent mentor too, and participate in a support group that she recommended to you?
Actually, yeah, we haven't got to meet her in person. I have her on my Facebook. We talk a lot on Facebook. She helps, anything that I might need or anything, she helps me out that way. I think she kind of lives out of town, yeah. We talk a lot on Facebook.
Yeah. And that's not an unusual experience.
Yeah.
Most of our parents who volunteer to be parent mentors actually never meet the family except in online or in person.
Yeah.
We also have available volunteers that we refer to as family resource partners. A family resource partner would not have the same type of ongoing relationship that Michelle has described with other resource individuals, but they're someone that perhaps can answer a specific question. They could be parents, they could be teachers, they could be other community members, just familiar with resources, familiar with different aspects of raising a child who is deaf or hard of hearing. And you can call Ask and tell us about a specific resource that you might need. And again, we would go to our network and find a match. If for some reason we wouldn't be able to identify that match within the state of Iowa, we have the ability as part of the parent-to-parent certification program to go outside of Iowa and get a resource either nationally or regionally or even internationally. We've had a couple experiences where we've even gone internationally and matched people together. So that's always a great resource as well. And there is some information on our website, again, www.askresource.org, that explains a little bit about each of those resources. In addition to that, I'm going to hold up, there is a parent guide that has been developed. There is an advisory board that oversees the early hearing detection and intervention EDI program. And they've come up with some basic resources that we offer to parents. And it's a great overview, just kind of how do you get started. There's a resource sheet as well. And the resource sheet is some information about hearing facts. And I dropped it, thank you. And it just is a fact sheet about why hearing is so important, and tips and strategies and even next steps. It's a really great initial fact sheet for families to read. It might help them even identify or perhaps begin to form some questions that they might have and not realize, hey, I didn't know that this was available, or that I should maybe ask about this because it caught our interest. So that concludes our webinar today. And again, congratulations on your upcoming child.
Thank you.
When are you due, Miss?
February 4th.
All
Yeah.
right. And we enjoyed getting to know Jax. I, again, am familiar with the family just because of phone communication and things we've had. So it's been great having you here today and actually seeing Jax. So,
Thank you.
So great. Thanks again. Appreciating the conversation.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, he
Yeah.